Oh, battery.
Oh, swanky.
Do you want this battery? Oh, frick! Here, take a battery.
You want this battery?
I didn't mean to do that, I swear.
See if I can shoot it in from here. Alright.
We can't be trusted with quest-specific items. Dead Space 3, the only game where you can so thoroughly dismember your enemies that they become nearly unrecognizable. Whoa. Look at him. Oh, there goes his legs. And... Oh. And the rest of him. Okay, look, I know my last video was on a horror game, but this is a little different. And I'm sorry for the giant gap in between uploads. I'm working on it. Of course, the Dead Space franchise is known for being scary, but just like Resident Evil 5, this sequel didn't quite deliver on that idea. And that's not to say that this game is bad. Far from it, actually. It's just not quite what you would expect. Dead Space 3 manages to somehow keep its engrossing atmosphere despite it not being scary. Ah! Frickin'...
Don't get scared, man.
I'm not getting scared.
I'm getting scared.
I'm not getting scared. I need you to check. You're freaking me out by scaring me. Ah! That could not have been timed any better. Okay, well, maybe sometimes it's scary, but not all the time. I am not.
That's concerned.
I got him. As always, for those of you who don't know, this channel is devoted to playing through and reviewing games specifically pertaining to co-op. The idea is to show you, the viewer, the ins and outs of co-op features of games that you know, and maybe even games you weren't aware could be played in co-op. These reviews are sorted by the good, the bad, and the co-op, and I always cap the whole thing off with my opinion on if you should play the given game or not. Now, let's start with the good. The most apparent thing that you'll notice is that this game visually looks pretty old. Low resolution textures, fairly static character models, and simple shaders definitely show their age. But if you think about when this game came out, it's actually quite impressive. Back in 2013, the devs only had the specs of the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 to work with, so what they were actually able to pull off was pretty freaking cool. It's still able to convey a very convincing universe that has some pretty beautiful and large areas to play around in. There's even a fun flashlight effect from the lights on your helmet.
What are you doing out there?
What am I doing?
What are you doing over there?
Nothing. What? What's so funny?
Nothing.
Gameplay-wise, Dead Space 3 has some pretty dang good features. The first of which is the super visceral feeling dismemberment system. The basic idea is that instead of just going for headshots like every other game, hacking off limbs is the most effective way to eliminate your enemies. And when you have such a wide variety of enemies to kill, you always need to be on your toes to be able to efficiently take them out when you start to get swarmed by 15 plus monsters. And the weapons that you use to decimate your enemies dictates how said decimation plays out. Some weapons like the plasma cutter work better on necromorphs, while something like the SMG or the skewer kill regular humans much faster due to the dismemberment being less effective. It's all down to if your weapon specializes in dismemberment or not. But if you have a hard time deciding on which weapon best mutilates your foes, there's a fully fleshed out crafting system that is just downright awesome. This is probably the best thing about this game. The options that it provides makes the game have way more depth and replayability than most linear action games. As long as you have the right frame, you can put most any two types of weapons on the same gun, like a rocket launcher on an SMG or a kinetic wave with a plasma cutter. And it provides these options really simply too. I'm someone who really hates sitting in menus, managing items, and crafting weapons in conventional games, but somehow Dead Space 3 makes it a breeze. The game gives you a healthy flow of crafting materials so you're never too far from your next upgrade, which makes trying to find a specific material a non-issue. There we go. Nope. Gosh, freaking I didn't want to go all... Ah! What?
You're losing it, man.
I don't need your freaking sass right now. I know when I am...
Losing it?
Yeah, I know it.
You are
I
now.
do.
You're doing it right now.
I saw my GF with another dude.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My child. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm losing it, I agree. And since it's so easy to craft and modify weapons, experimentation becomes the name of the game. Although I will say, the naming for some of the pieces of your weaponry could have definitely been changed. We laugh at it because we're children, but if innuendos bother you, you may want to skip the rest of this video. Just a warning.
Construct a tip. What?
No.
I don't get it.
That is the... Well, I've laughed at that same joke like 5 times now.
You need to...
It's sad how funny that is. Okay, we're going up, I assume. What is happening? Why am I getting sucked? Why am I suddenly... Okay,
Can we isolate that? Can you isolate that?
Why am I getting sucked?
Give that out as a ringtone.
Yeah. Now, I know I've made this game sound pretty frickin' good, but there are definitely some issues that are worth talking about. First of which is the cover mechanics. I don't know what it is about non-horror games, but man, do they not know how to make cover work well. Instead of there being a dedicated cover button, it just auto-sticks you to it while crouched. This wouldn't be a bad thing if it didn't feel basically random when it decided to put you in cover. When I'm in the thick of it being swarmed by all kinds of baddies, I definitely don't need to be struggling with the controls. And it's bad enough to the point where it's gotten me killed several times. On top of that, there's no option to blind fire, so you just have to hope that no one flanks you while you hide and heal. Luckily, the parts that utilize this mechanic are few and far between, so we just ended up brute forcing our way through these encounters.
Look at that guy up there.
I know, right? He is no more. Why did you waste ammo on a box?
Listen, I don't need you to question what I'm doing.
You're parallel to the ground. I don't need you to question.
Don't look at me!
There also seems to be random difficulty spikes in the strangest spots. At one point, we were just calmly trying to solve a puzzle, and then out of nowhere, we got swarmed by a bunch of unkillable monsters. I understand that they were trying to show off the utility of the stasis ability, but there were so many enemies all at once, we didn't know how to deal with it. Another time, we were trying to escape a burning section of a space station, and there were a ridiculous amount of places that fire would just randomly shoot out of. I think what they were trying to go for was kind of like an escape mission where you have to dodge enemies and traps, but said traps weren't telegraphed very well, so there were a large number of unfair deaths. I cannot believe.
I lived.
I hate that it doesn't show me that a thing's gonna be on. Ah!
Oh my god.
Hey, we're back here!
Oh my god.
You know what? You know what?
Oh. No.
I'm too freaking hungry for this crap.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
that's it. That is it. Speaking of unfair deaths, the repelling scenarios are probably the worst part of the entire game. Well, more of the upward kind of repelling, not the downward kind. This feature seems to be in place to add some gameplay variety in order to break up the constant dismembering, but instead of it being a fun side thing, it just brings the pacing of the game to a halt and is 50% broken. Basically, you move at a snail's pace, climbing up walls. While yes, I realize it's realistic, but in a video game, it's super boring. And there are no checkpoints while scaling walls, so if you die, you get to start at the bottom and old lady walk all the way back up. And it's even more frustrating when you die for seemingly no reason. This next clip explains this quite well, but rest assured, I was glad when it was over. Why does it knock me backwards when I'm aiming down sights? What kind of sense does that make? See? It's stupid. Gotcha! Why? 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 Why do you do this? Why do you do this? No! What the freak is happening?
You gotta go all the way to the right and then jump.
What do you mean? That's really what you have to do?
Yes.
What kind of sense does that make?
Well, you can only jump a certain distance.
I thought it did all the way.
Nope. We can get past this and we'll be sit. Never mind. I was halfway through the word "say." Gosh damn it.
You spun so fast. The last thing that you should know is you can't skip cutscenes. I don't know why, but please, if any game devs are listening to this, make your co-op game either have no cutscenes or have the ability to skip them. I'm sure your story is great, but when I'm playing with a friend, I only care about the gameplay. Yeah, gonna press the... Okay.
You're the leader.
I'm not... What? Floor 2? Sure. I'm not the leader, by the way.
You're the leader.
It's a co-op game. There's no leader.
You're Isaac Clarke.
Isaac Clarke?
Security guard. Yeah.
No, you're other guy.
Exactly.
A very memorable and important character.
Now for the co-op portion of this review, there actually isn't a whole lot to say. The setup is really simple and there aren't too many bells and whistles that make this stand out as a co-op game, but I'll go over what there is. As far as interesting co-op specific mechanics, there are a couple that stand out. First off, if you pause the game, it pauses it for both players. This is a really strange choice in my opinion. I would have preferred the ability to change it to per player, but it's not that big of a deal once you get used to it.
Oh, it doesn't auto-reload after you run out of ammo. That's kind of annoying.
Is there a way to turn that on? There might be.
I don't know.
That is the most frustrating thing.
No, you cannot.
Well, I did not have the controller in my hands.
The next feature is actually kinda interesting. One character in the game is supposedly going insane, so they show that visually in the cutscenes. Whomever is playing Isaac Clarke won't see the hallucinations that the person playing John Carver does. It's not necessarily groundbreaking, but it is a neat addition all the same. And since this is a survival horror game that has inventory management, I'm very pleased to say that item sharing is a thing that you can do. You never really realize how nice this feature is in games until it gets taken away. Imaginary game devs, please take note of that. Now, as far as getting co-op set up, it's really quite simple. Pretty much all you need to do is press the co-op campaign button at the main menu and press private session. Once you're in the lobby, you can just invite your friend from there. And that's it! You can now play through the entirety of the Dead Space 3 campaign with a friend.
I love how you just completely skip entire areas.
What do you mean?
Like, there was a box over there that you completely were not paying attention to.
Where?
It's your fault for not seeing it.
Is it though?
Yes.
I don't think that's my fault.
No, it's your fault. I'm not. Am I my brother's keeper? No.
No, but you're mine. Brother.
Am I like your nurse, trying to help you find everything?
Grant, where are my slippers?
To wrap things up, Dead Space 3 is pretty good. Sure, it didn't really succeed in its goals of being a scary horror game, but it ended up being a pretty enjoyable action-adventure title. And sure, some questionable game mechanics hold the game back a fair bit, but the weapon crafting system alone makes this game worth a try. So to answer the question, should you play Dead Space 3 in co-op? Totally. And hey, since it's 6 years old, you could probably get it for pretty cheap. I'm The Amazing Gap, and thanks for watching.